Hold on.
Hello, 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 and welcome to Happy Hour with Dr. Makeba and Friends. I am Dr. Makeba, and I am all for love. My mission is to help souls searching for answers find love and light by illuminating their light path using the power of Reiki and my spiritual gifts. And I'm so happy to extend that to this platform as a podcast, blog, video cast, etc. Now, my goal here is to bring people, my friends, onto the stage so that they could share their special gifts too. On Happy Hour with Dr. Makeba and Friends, we talk about all things human, what it is that make us human, and get us through this journey called life. It's not easy, but we want it to be fun and insightful as we go along. And so today, I'm very happy to welcome Tamasia Johnson. She's my first guest for the day. And Tamasia's superpower is that she is the right hand that helps people make it happen. She helps to bring ideas, desires, and goals to life on that journey from point A to B, whether it's a weight loss journey, marketing a business idea, purchasing a home. And she really, really helps people. That's where she comes in. And she is helping me. I love it. Anyway, I would love to have Tamasia join me. Come on, Tamasia. Say hello.
Hey, hey, am I
Say-
on?
Not
Hello.
yet. It's okay. We're working out the kinks. Hi, Yuvelca. I see you.
Oh, let me go back.
It's giving me a little what is it? Partridge Family. Yes. And Brady Bunch at the same time. I love it. Okay. Well, we're gonna go ahead with Tamasia. Is that okay, Miss Yavelka? Ah,
Awesome.
here we go.
I'm
Here we
here. Hi, Dr. Makeba.
go. Hi, how are you?
Good, good.
Good, good,
Nice to chat
good.
with you today.
We have so much to talk about.
Mm-hmm. Where should we start?
Listen, this is your stage right now. I want to learn more about you. Is that okay?
Yes,
You're open to that?
I'm open to that. Will you ask me a question?
I will. I will. I
Okay,
will.
good.
So, Tamasia, we talked about in your intro, your superpower is helping people. And I'm really interested in how you got into that. Like, tell us a little bit about your journey
Mhm.
and why it is that you feel it's important to help people in this way.
Yes. Um, So I want to start this off by saying that for a long time, I fought against it.
Mm.
Right. So I went against the natural and felt very frustrated. Like, why do I always have to be the person to help people get things done? Right. And so when I got over that, I realized that when things get missed, right? Goals
Mhm.
don't get accomplished, ideas don't get realized, lives don't get changed, things don't get done if you don't have a person or a team to get you from what's in your heart to see it in real life, to get you from not feeling like yourself to feeling like your best self, from
Mhm.
not knowing you can do it to be like, oh my God, I did it. And so a lot of the areas I fall in now have come from personal experience. um, One, I don't know that you know, is that I used to be 245 pounds. Used to really struggle. Yes, I used to be.
What?
Yes, I used to have really long natural hair. I used to be very on the inside the same, but on the outside not the same, right? And so I
Right.
went.
Right. Right.
Yeah, and so I used to, I always say, like right now, I'm like a size 8-ish, right? I used to be
Okay.
size 18. And so even that transition, and with all of mine, I get really excited. If I can do it, I want to help everybody else do it too.
Yeah.
Um, so I just noticed the value in being able to do that. And learning to be obedient where it don't always make sense, but you
Yeah.
just gotta, go with it. And that's how, and it puts me in a place of gratitude, right? To be able
Mm-hmm.
to go from being frustrated, like, wow, I gotta be the person, to be like, wow, if I didn't step up, right, maybe this person wouldn't be off medication, this person wouldn't have confidence, this person wouldn't be able to, communicate their message to the world, to be able to change lives, and so when I think about it from that standpoint, I'm like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
I understand the assignment, and I just need to go with it, even though I don't always understand, you
Yeah.
know, all of the intricacies, for sure.
I love that. I love that. And of course, that's the topic for this conversation today. It's being obedient and using our gifts, right? And so recognizing that that's your superpower is super awesome. And I really appreciate you.
Yeah.
I
Um,
really
yeah.
appreciate you for that.
Mhm.
And so I'm happy that you have presented yourself to help me. I mean, I think it's a cool story how we met. And so I'm going to
Mhm.
share that real quick
Mhm.
because it
Mhm.
was very much out of the blue.
Mhm.
And when I say out of the blue, I know that that means that it's from God. Okay. The
Mhm.
sky is blue, the ocean
Mhm.
is blue.
Mhm.
When God sends people your way, that's
Yep.
out of the blue. When those
Yep.
things happen, that's out of the blue. And so, meeting you that fine day a few months ago, I had no idea that you were going to be helping me to establish myself, helping me to put some language around what it is that I'm doing, because I've been called to do some big work,
Mhm.
as you know.
Yeah.
There's like 25 streams of things that I'm trying to do, and you're like, but wait, we need to focus. So, I want to kind of turn it over to you so you can ask me some questions, um, and go from there.
Okay. And so I'll share a little bit about how we met, and how it worked, and then translate into the question, right? And so those of you who are listening, we have that feeling in our intuition where it's like, I went to this thing, I don't know how I met this person, and now here we are in this place, right? And then that person, or both of you, your lives get changed in some way where you had no idea, right?
Mm,
And so I'm thankful that, although I'm learning about Reiki by working with you, and you sharing all that you have, or what has been planted in you to put out into the world. And so that's what I want to kick it off with, right? And so if you had to
mhm.
just tell the people who are listening, what is it that you have been called to do beyond the Reiki part, beyond the
Right.
energy part, so that you can do what you've been called to do in this world.
Yes. Thank you for the question. Thank you for the question. And there's some listeners out there that I don't even know about the Reiki piece,
Mhm.
right? Um, but it is a major component of this transformation that I've experienced over the past year. And so you talked about your weight loss going from a size 18 to a size 8, and how that took dedication and obedience too, because you had to stop some of those behaviors that led you to that point, right? And so for me, I got a calling a little less than a year ago, and it was a like a clear message from God that I was to experience a new me. I didn't know what that new me was going to be, but a big part of it had to do with me going to Reiki class, learning about energy healing that I started doing because I was having some pain in my back. I was having this mid back pain that was just nagging me for like 2 years. And I went to a massage therapist regularly, went to a chiropractor regularly, and none of them helped. Then I happened to see this show and they were doing some energy healing. I was like, well, maybe that'll help with me.
Mhm.
And so when I went and took my Reiki level 1 class, I learned, number one, that we are all energy beings. So we all have this energy flowing through our bodies, and that we all have the ability to heal ourselves and to heal others. And
Mhm.
so I was really excited about that. Um, and I started doing my self healing on myself, and my back started feeling a little bit better. And when it would nag me, I would realize that a lot of that had to do with what was going on in my heart chakra, which I
Mhm.
had not even really paid attention to before.
Mhm.
The heart chakra is like right here in the chest in the front, but it extends to the back. Like it's a whole channel in
Mhm.
your body. So learning more about energy, I think, bumped me to a different level of consciousness, I'll say.
Mhm.
And one thing that I didn't realize when I took the Reiki level 1 class is that it would open me up spiritually. And
Mhm.
so I was then able to really connect with the spirit realm, which I had always known was there. Like I knew that when my ancestors or when my people passed away, that they lived on the ancestral plane, and I could reach out to my dad and my grandmother and ask them for help and support and send them love and feel them all around. But after that attunement to my Reiki level 1 energy, I was able to actually communicate with them and hear from them.
Mm.
And so that was amazing. And I'm still getting used to that. But I also, very shortly after the attunement and the connection with my ancestors, received messages and downloads and lots of information about what the future held for me.
Mhm.
And it was very comforting, but then also very scary
That's
because
what I
it
was just
told me,
saying.
yeah,
Mhm.
I heard, well, and this happened like in back in early 22, February 2022. I heard by July of 22, you're going to open a healing hand center and it will be called Dr. Makeba and Friends. And I was like, but wait, I just learned Reiki a week ago. How am I going to do that? I have a full-time job. I am a healthcare executive. That's what I
Mhm.
do. And I heard very clearly that that was my calling, that I was to spread love and light, that I would do that through Reiki, that I would also be a writer. I would publish books. I would meet people who would come into my life and who would be great friends. I
Mhm.
will be advised by my ancestors, by my spirit guides, by God, by Jesus, Buddha, Muhammad, like all of them. And I'm doing
Mhm.
this because I feel surrounded and held by them. So, long story short, try to shorten it a little bit. Happy hour with Dr. Makeba and Friends is part of it. It's part of the calling. So I'm called to do this Reiki energy work to ignite the light in people,
Mhm.
right? So I stamp my finger and I help people's chakras get back into alignment, but then they have to do the work. So a lot of it is about self-care, self-help, pumping up
Mhm.
the energy in folks. That's one thing. I have to write, I have to share my words so that people can hear and be inspired and learn from my story.
Mhm.
The other thing is inviting people like yourself to come onto a platform like this to talk about how you help humanity, how you hear from God, how you are obedient to what you know that you've been called to do. And, there'll be lots of people who come on this program from all walks of life. And the goal and the idea of that is to show folks that we're all connected. So the way that I met you was very much on purpose. It may have seemed out of the blue,
Mhm.
but we know what that means,
Mhm.
right? And so now that our paths have crossed, we are going to be bigger and better together.
Mhm.
And so that's what it's all about.
Mhm. And so I want to we talked about this before, when if you had to share, what is love and light? What does that
Yeah,
look like? What does that
yeah,
feel like? How does somebody know if they need some love and light, right? Or how does someone know they don't have enough love and light? And
right.
what are some things that they can do to, have that essence that you talk about?
Yeah, I love that question because in my mind it's like totally clear. Love and light. Who doesn't know what love and light is?
Mhm.
But I remember a couple years ago in my own life, in my own body, in my own spirit, thinking that I was okay,
Mhm.
but being in a relationship and in a work environment too that just did not satisfy me.
Mhm.
And so I didn't realize it then, but my light had dimmed. So all the things, the essence of me, I had let shrink.
Mhm.
And so the things that I used to enjoy doing, I had kind of stopped doing. Like I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I liked to do. I was just kind of in a funk and I lacked clarity. So like when I would think about my job that I was in, I loved the fact that I had a job because especially during the time when COVID popped up and people were losing jobs and there was this lack of security, I had a job, but I didn't feel a sense of real purpose because I wasn't fully able to help in the way that I like to help. Because I'm a helper too. It's in the same way that you are. My job prior to the one that I'm currently in was as a strategic planner. So I would help leaders to meet and exceed their goals, help them realize their vision, and do
Mhm.
things in that way, right? But I wasn't able to a couple of years ago because of COVID. COVID kind of took away the whole idea of strategy because people were dealing with operational issues and trying to stay afloat. So I had to take a back stay. I had to back up. And during that time, I was thinking about what my next steps would be like. What kind of job should I have, and what can I do? And I didn't really feel confident, to be honest. Like I didn't know how to take the skills and abilities that I had and even think about what my next steps would be.
Mhm.
So I would say that the feeling that I had then, the lack of direction,
Mhm.
the lack of clarity, the lack of purpose, specifically in my job, reflected a dim light.
Mhm.
I wasn't my full self.
Mhm.
And then in my relationship, I felt at the time that I was not receiving the love that I needed, but I didn't even fully love myself and
Mhm.
what was going on with me and my body. Like I had gained weight, I wasn't eating right, I wasn't just feeling cute. Hello, I feel a lot cuter these days, but I just didn't feel good
Mhm.
in my body, and so
Mhm.
I blamed myself for why my relationship wasn't good,
Mhm.
so I didn't feel empowered to speak up about
Mhm.
what it was that I needed. I didn't feel like I was being fully seen, and so I didn't feel loved, but the love that I'm talking about now, the love that I feel that people need to strive for is that love of yourself, because
Mhm.
when you love yourself enough, it doesn't really matter what's going on around you because you know what you need, you know what you want, you know what you deserve. And so you don't take shit, for lack of a better word,
Mhm.
and when you are fully in love with yourself, and when I say that, I'm not saying that in an arrogant way. Like you don't want to be an arrogant jerk about your self-love,
Mhm.
but you want to be compassionate and loving and respectful of yourself. And when you are there, when you feel that, then you attract a different kind of love experience
Mhm.
from the outside.
Mhm.
So that's the love and light that I'm talking about. And
Mhm.
for me, it's very warm and very fuzzy.
Mhm. Mhm. And so I will. We talked about this part too.
Mhm.
Um, and so what now that you know what you know
Yeah.
and you've experienced what you've experienced, what would be some initial steps someone could take to, maneuver their way back to more love, more light,
Mm.
tapping into
Mhm.
that power?
Got you. I love your questions.
Yeah. And y'all, those of you who are listening, I kind of know the answers, but I want Dr. Makeba to tell y'all what the
Yay.
answers are.
You're very good at getting it out. That's thank you. Okay. So the number one thing that I always recommend to people is that they pray and meditate.
There we go.
Pray and meditate. Pray and
Mhm,
meditate. And if you don't believe in God, a higher power source, the creator, the universe, or whatever, the prayer could be a prayer to your higher self that
mhm,
you want to see the light. You
mhm,
want to see the light. You want to feel the light. You want to be the light. Because if you put it out there, it's like manifestation, right? If you
mhm,
write something down, it's out there, and then you can get closer and closer to it. So you pray.
mhm. I want to add one thing because
Sure.
when we pray, we also got to be obedient, though, right? And so, where does that fall into all of this as well? What would you say?
So that comes with the meditation part,
Hmm.
right?
Okay.
So the prayer is us talking. God is who I pray to. God, please show me the light. Please show me the light. I know the light is within me. I know the light is surrounding me, but God, please show me the light. And then I meditate. So the prayer and meditation are aligned because at that point, then I breathe and I ground myself and I listen. And I think that's what a lot of people miss out on, that pause, that listening, that waiting to hear and receive.
Mm-hmm.
And so in my meditation, that's when I get the clearest messages because I'm silent, I'm quiet, I'm still, I'm focusing on my breathing, I'm focusing on my breath, my heartbeat. But that's when I can really hear the voice within and the voice of my spirit guides and ancestors and God. So when I hear and receive messages, sometimes I just they stick and I know what I'm supposed to do. Other times I write it down and I'm like, okay, I have to ponder this because sometimes the messages are like, really? I'm gonna do what, when, why, how? You have questions. But what I found is that when I listen, when I receive, when I accept, and when I'm obedient, that's when things flow. That's when things flow. So that it all ties together in my mind.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And what about if maybe I'll speak for myself and you just shared something that I didn't actually know.
Hmm.
We know or have heard to pray, but then just now you mentioned that the meditation is where we need to listen.
Yeah.
And so I just realized I'm like, maybe I'm doing this thing out of order, right? I mean, I'm meditating, but I'm like, oh, I should have prayed first so that I can meditate and listen. And in that way it all kind of flows together. But
Yeah.
what would someone do if they're not hearing anything or they don't like what they hear? They don't understand how to decode what they hear or
Hmm.
what they're
Hmm.
feeling. What would someone then do?
Okay. Well, so that's number two, right? Number two is to really explore and figure out where you can draw knowledge and information, where you can draw support. And I am a person that can help with that. So, with Reiki energy healing, I'm able to tap into people's energetic bodies and auras and help align them where they're blocked because sometimes you can't hear, see, feel, know because your chakras are out of alignment. And so you come to someone like me who does Reiki. I can use my energy to help move your energy to open you up so that you can receive better.
Mhm.
Right. And so when you leave my space or my table, and I do Reiki on Zoom, I can do it by phone. Distance Reiki is really a thing. It really works. Or you come into my studio, we talk and we do Reiki on you. But the key is when you leave, you have to do your own self care and your work and your follow up. Follow the recommendations. 9 times out of 10, I'm going to say pray and meditate every day, twice a day. Practice. If you don't know how to do it, reach out. I
Mhm.
have a meditation group that gets together several times a week. So you can dial in on Zoom and meditate with us.
Mhm.
Um, a lot of times I'll tell people to implement some kind of energetic self-care. So if the issue is in the third eye or in the chakra, you'll use your hands and do various positions to try to balance the energy flow in those areas. If
Mhm.
you want to learn more about how to do self-care, or even how to self help others, right? Your family members, your friends, your pets, even. You can take a Reiki level 1 class. If you want to take that a little bit further, you can take a Reiki level 2 class
Mhm.
and just learn what it means to move the energy. And it's so empowering. I totally recommend it, even if you don't want to do it for a living. Like, you don't have to have a Reiki practice to be a Reiki practitioner.
Mhm.
You don't have to, you know, sell your services. You don't. You just really, the main thing, the highlight, I think, is doing self care and being able to get yourself back in order if you're off for whatever reason.
Mhm.
Now, if you don't want to learn Reiki, and I don't know why you wouldn't, you can always come back to me and I can help. But my goal for my clients is to help them to be able to balance themselves, to take care of themselves so
Mhm.
that they can help others. That is part of my mission in terms of spreading the love and spreading the light, because me knowing how to do it is going to help only a certain number of people, but
Mhm.
once you learn how to do it, you can help more, and they can help more, and it just spreads and spreads and spreads. So that's the goal.
Good. And I want to share my short experience with you doing some energy healing work on me, especially because I know there's people who have messaged me on Instagram like, how was it? Was it, what did you feel like? And so, I think for me it was kind of it confirmed things. I was
Mm,
like, oh, I had been feeling that. Or I was like, oh, I didn't know I was on the right track. And so it doesn't always, at least for me, it doesn't always have to be a bad thing that has happened or a
right,
bad thing that's going on.
right,
Sometimes for me, it's like, oh, I'm on the right track. Oh, I
yeah,
do feel that big manifestation coming now. You know what I mean? To keep going in that sense. And I remember the first time I was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to feel. But the second time I was like, oh, I feel the heat on my head. And so
yeah,
just even being open to an experience like that to bring you closer to a calling or closer to a gift or just closer to the next step
yeah,
is also where it can fall in line too. And so I wanted to share that because I think sometimes we feel like it has to be a bad thing or it has to be
agreed.
a traumatic experience, which it could be, but maybe it's just a sign like, okay, I am on the right track, right? I
Yeah,
do need to go left and get that one position that's been on my heart and things like that. So um, I'm grateful because these last couple months, us doing our thing together, I'm like, oh, this is good. And I want to share one other thing because I have to go to Bible study and they're already worshiping without me. And
okay,
so those of you guys, right? I remember, so when I first met Dr. Makeba, right? I got a bracelet from her. And I'll never forget this actually. There was a guy who came up right after me. He was like, I want the brown one. And I was just like, I don't think it worked like that. And she had me, I didn't know, but that's not what we did. And you had me, kind of move my hand around the different bracelets to see which one gave me the feels because that was the energy that I probably needed. So I wanted to drop that tip too. If we're thinking about bracelets and energy healing and who to call and what to do, um, that's just something for you guys to know that Dr. Makeba is thebomb.com. And
oh,
um, I had a lot of fun chatting with you, and I'm only leaving because I have to honor my commitment to
yeah.
you know who.
Okay,
Because
that's
we're
right, and that's the other thing I tell
here
people: schedule time to commune with your higher self. Okay, now I know you have to go. I'm so glad that you joined us, but before you go, real quick, I just wanted to put
okay.
a little note there that Tamasia's from the Bronx. Okay,
I am from the Bronx, okay?
Bronx girls are all that. I'm from the Bronx
Yes.
too. All right. And now I'm about to introduce Yuvelca Magdalena, who is also from the Bronx. Woo,
Let's
woo, woo.
go.
Tamasia, thank you so much for joining us. And I will see you and talk to you again very soon.
Yes. Have a
All
good
right.
night, y'all. Take care.
Take care. Bye bye. Yay. That was great. Woo. All right, Yuvelca, darling. I would love to introduce now my co host. Yuvelca Magdalena is my dear, dear friend from high school. But aside from that, she is amazing. She is amazing. And I have a little bio here that I'm supposed to read, but I have to just drop, first of all, that she is a wonderful, powerful woman who is dedicated to to love and light, number one, and to doing the work of the Almighty. She is so good at being obedient and using her gifts. And her primary gift, I would say, is that she just really wants to help people navigate the spaces of grief, loss, and death. And she does wonderful work that involves brain spotting. If you haven't heard about that, I'm sure she's going to talk about that in a few minutes. But without further ado, Yuvelca, please join me and say hello.
Hi,
Boogie Down Bronx in the house. Okay.
every day, all day.
Yes. Hello. Hello.
Hi.
Um, I just want to take a minute because I feel like, this is a little transition point. There's a lot of love, and I want to just recenter us a little bit. So I have a little a sound bowl, and we're going to, yeah, we're going to get next topic here. Ooh. So, Yuvelka, please tell us about yourself. Oh, I
Um,
know. Where do you start? It's so much, but tell us about you.
because as soon as that question, hits the brain, it's like exactly where do you start, especially when you're on this type of a journey
Yeah.
and you know that it's a calling. It's not something that you asked for. It's a place and spaces that you've been brought to do a particular type of work. And I help people and families pretty much heal their hearts in the spaces of grief, loss, death, and forgiveness.
Mm.
Um, I am very in tune with your work when you said that you're here to spread, love and light. We don't have to talk about how we connected, but it was also in February.
Yes.
It was like, yeah, I received a strong message like, yeah, you're going to be helping her because, after the hearts get healed, they're open.
Mm-hmm.
They're open. They have an open space for light and love to enter.
Yes.
And I think that's why we flow the way that we do because there's a lot of people hurting out there. There's a
Yeah.
lot of people dealing with a lot of grief and trauma, and it's a difficult and tough space to be in, but the Almighty brings me into the spaces to do whatever it is that He wills me to do. Because I walk into spaces and I don't even know,
Right.
you know, what am I supposed to be doing here? And it's
Right.
so important, like you said, to pray and to meditate. And when you're doing the work, it comes pretty fast.
Mm-hmm.
Prayers are short and quick. Meditation is short and quick with the practice.
Yes.
To listen more in depth, to listen more deeply, and to get deeper answers, you really got to practice. And you
Yeah.
said 2 times a day.
Two
Girl,
times. Two times. And now for me,
sometimes it could be every hour before you enter into a space.
I know, I know. I have a deep appreciation for Muslim people who pray 5 times a day, who are actually dedicated and diligent about their prayer time 5 times a day, because it is a chunk of time, but they carve out time to speak with their higher power, right? I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
So I do want to add, because we have known each other since high school, but it's not like we were in touch all those number of years. Like, I won't say how many years it's been. It's not like we were in constant touch, but we were connected on different social media platforms and things. And you reached out to me because you noticed a change in me on
Hmm.
social media
Hmm.
and received a message that you needed to reach out and you didn't know why. And so things like that happen. And I noticed that they happen even more frequently now that I'm rolling in these circles, which you have been in for many, 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 many years.
Yeah.
Now, you did say that you've been doing this work, but you didn't mention how long and when you noticed that you've had these abilities. And I don't want to age you, but I want you to share a little bit about how you started, how you got started.
I've been in deaf work since I was 18. It took me a long time to even say that because such a stigma, you
Mm-hmm.
know. When people hear the word death, they want to run. When people hear that others are comfortable in the deaf space, there's something wrong with them,
Right.
you know. And I entered this space just to help a friend.
Yeah.
At that age, at 18, I had a lot of friends having babies,
Yeah.
and some of my friends had babies 15, 16, 17, depending on,
Mm-hmm.
their background, whatever their circumstances is. And a friend of mine had a daughter, and her daughter died. I mean, her dog died, excuse me.
Her
Her daughter
dog.
did not die.
Yeah.
Her dog died, and she stopped speaking.
Mm.
So while I was thinking about her, I was like, how can I help her?
Yeah.
And I came across this doctor in New York, and he was doing. He passed away during COVID. May he sleep in peace. But I came across his training, and his training was for navigating the pet loss,
Mm.
pet grieving.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yes.
oh,
Yes.
that's what I'm gonna do. And I went through all the things, and he was tough. He was tough. And just helping her daughter have her rituals and ceremonies, that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean that you're worshiping demons. You know what I mean? That's
Right.
just something that you do. Rituals is practices you do all the time
Mm-hmm.
until they become second nature.
Yeah.
Ceremonies are like celebrations. They
Yeah.
don't necessarily have to be calling in anyone other than the Almighty.
Right.
So it took a while, to get those definitions down, because everybody's, you're gonna teach her rituals, you're gonna teach. And just in that process of me learning during that time, and just learning and teaching her at the same time, so we were both students,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it made her speak because she wanted to know why I
Ah,
was doing what I was doing. And
God.
it was cool because we had the cartoon, like, all dogs go to heaven, all dogs
Yes.
really, what's
Yeah.
heaven?
Yeah.
And when you don't know, how can you give a definition of heaven,
Right.
when you're new at this yourself? Yeah, we went to Catholic school, we went to, we have
Yeah.
an idea of one faith, but it's so different, because as the time went by, I started getting more in tune with other faiths, and how they view death and how they navigate certain spaces. And I mean, I can go on and get lost in the story, but my beginnings were there. My
Yeah.
beginnings was to help a little girl.
Well, and one of the things that you mentioned to me is that everyone has it in them to be a doula, because the
Absolutely.
way that you define a doula is more of a helper or a companion, right? And so
Yes.
you um, are a doula in birth and a doula in death. And from my perspective, the birth doula, you're birthing new life into the earthly realm. The death doula is birthing life into the afterlife, right? So it's all birth depending on how you define it. And on the front end, with the birth to the earth, there's a happiness that surrounds that because the people that are here on this earth are really excited about this new life. um, and when people die, when their time on this earth is finished, it's sad. People are like distraught, and of course I fully understand that it makes sense because you don't have their physical presence anymore. But I think that part of the value of a doula is that you can help people navigate their grief, and you speak to them in their own language. And so you can help them get through it. Now, for me, I believe that once they pass over to the next life, you can still communicate with them, right? Like that's one of the things that I want people to understand from my perspective. But for those who don't believe that, death can be even harder to accept because you feel like it's a finality to it. So
But it
anyway,
still leads to the end,
yeah, yeah.
and when I mean by end, I don't mean like end period,
Mm-hmm.
because it's a birth to the earth and then a birth back to
Right,
earth,
right.
back to the soil, back to. So when I come across clients, the clients lead. It's
Yeah,
one thing, that, I learned from brain spotting, you're the tail, the client is the head of the comet,
yes.
and wherever the client goes, you follow. This is
Mm-hmm.
just, basic brain spotting terminology,
Yeah.
um, and also, in brain spotting is huge. Their motto, their phrase is, "Why am I talking?" You let the clients speak. You let them tell you. Some don't believe.
Mm-hmm.
Some are just recognizing that they should believe.
Mm-hmm.
But when I come across clients like that, it is all to follow, wherever they are,
Mm-hmm.
wherever they are. It could
Yeah,
be a dark place, follow them to the dark place,
yeah.
because light enters when it's ready to enter. Because it's always there, right, within us. We spoke about that before, right?
That's right.
We are the light. We are the light.
Right.
And you just help them build the memories.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
I came back into death work right before COVID hit, and I had to share some of my stories. My introduction was um, my friend's daughter. I experienced, the death of the man that raised me,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and he passed away in my arms. His last breath in my lungs,
Wow.
and it was at that point where I really got connected to source.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say connected to source, everything that is and ever was, Alpha and
Yeah.
Omega.
Yeah.
Then in that reconnecting and recognizing, that's when the practice came in, because the practice really is building a relationship, a one-on-one. You don't need to walk into a man-built temple. You don't
Right.
need to walk into a man, just us right now, we're in church,
Right. When two or more gather. Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
it's just building that relationship. So that way, when you're listening, you know what you're listening to, because
Yeah.
there's a lot of whispers in the wind.
Yes.
You just need to know, what is that for you, and get guided by that. And I say get guided by that, but it's work. It's
Right.
your mindset, it's your heart set, it's your soul set. It's a lot of work.
Yeah. So we definitely will be talking much more about your work as a death doula and as a brain spotting practitioner in episodes to come because that's very, very critical
Oh, and I
and
need to
crucial,
say
right?
death doula, but not palliative care. I
Right.
help. It's in birth.
Yeah.
I'm not a medical provider, so I help the
Yeah.
midwife. I don't catch babies. And
Right.
as a death doula, I am not a palliative care worker to
Yeah.
administer any type of medication, but I do help. I
Yeah.
assist on the extra hands.
Yes. Well, so in addition to those things, you also are a coach for other folks that are working in spiritual business and other types of business as well, right? Entrepreneurs, getting them going.
The business startups and rebranding. Yes.
Yes, yes. And so you're helping me in that area, lots of other of our good friends as well. And you are co-hosting Happy Hour with Dr. Makeba and Friends.
Oh, thanks and praise to the Almighty.
Oh, yes, yes. And I think initially you thought you were going to be in the background, but absolutely not. Absolutely
You
not.
called me out.
You have
I
you
was
have
ready.
too much. You have too much to share because, the whole premise of this show is to talk about all things that make us human and get us along this human journey. And you do work from birth to death, the continuum, right? And the afterlife as well, because you are connected. We're all connected. We know, the two of us know, that there is a cycle, there is a circle, and there are things that happen during this earthly journey along the way between the birth process and the death process that we're going to get into. We're going to be talking about things like race, gender, religion, sexuality, all those things that people say, "Are you sure you want to talk about that?" And the answer is yes, because it's important. It's important in terms of my mission, because one of them is for sure to help people understand that we're all one, we're all in this together, we're all light. Our only job here on this earth is to love each other and not to judge each other. And so we're going to get into various hot topics and tear down those walls, those socially constructed walls that man has created to divide us, because they're not important, but they really are a pain in the ass. So we're going to be talking about those things with our friends. And to clarify, when we talk about Dr. Makeba and Friends, we may have some spirit friends that come in and talk to us as well. So be on the lookout for some messages from the divine uh, metasphere, I'll call it, because they like to speak to me and through me. So, somebody might pop up. We never know. Now, Yuvelca, I would love for you to speak a little bit about your vision for Happy Hour with Dr. Makeba and Friends. You know mine. What is your vision for the show?
Just a place where you can just let down that mask and let down the guard and just be present and open to
Hmm.
truly network, to truly connect, and to truly make friends.
Yes.
You know, that's how I see it. I mean, in this world, we have a lot of folks that are very protected and guarded, or they're extremely sensitive, and in those spaces, right, where there's no communication, there's a confusion of things. We can't let what we want to say out and don't know how it's going to be received.
Hmm.
So while we have conversations on these topics, I'm hoping that it gets people comfortable to have those conversations, to really see that this is human nature. This is a part of who we are, who we were, who we're going to be.
Yes.
So
I
thank you for
love
being
it.
here.
I love it. I love it. Thank you. I look forward to our weekly Wednesdays at 7. um, very, very excited about what's to come. I expect to talk a lot about love, what it means, what you can do to build up your self love. I expect to talk a lot about death and what it really looks like and how we should approach it, or we provide some advice on how to deal with grief and things like that. I feel like that's going to be a topic for us. I definitely want to talk about sexuality and how there are so many people out there that are not living as their full selves, and how can you love yourself if you can't be your full self,
They got
and
that sacral
why.
chakra blocked.
That right, right. And how can you be your full self if you're hiding it because of what you believe society might think about you? You know what I mean? So I want to actually dig into some of that stuff with folks. in our coming episodes. So stay tuned, guys. Happy Hour with Dr. Makeba and Friends is going to be a fun ride.
Bring
It's
your
going to
drinks.
be very insightful. Bring your drinks. Not if you have a problem. Okay. If you have a problem, don't drink. Okay. We're not
Disclaimer.
doing that. Yes. Have a little drink of coconut water. That's what I have. Okay. All right. So we'll see you. We'll be back here next week, same time. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.